Good morning, everyone. I'm Jennifer Blaylock with CSA Materials based out of San Angelo, Texas. I'm excited to share with y'all today our first panel interview brought to you by the Women of Asphalt Texas branch. I'm happy to be y'all's vice chairwoman for the branch for 2022. One of our goals is going to be one of the largest branches in the nation and one of the also most motivated. In order to do that, we had to divide ourselves up into 3 subcommittees, one of which is sponsoring this panel today. I'm gonna let you take that on.
All right, my name is Lisa Barrs. I work for Texas Materials, and I'm the chairwoman for the Subcommittee Education. And one of the main goals that we have on the subcommittee is to encourage women to this industry and not only promote it to the women, but also to anyone that can be part of it and that would like to be part of it. So there are many opportunities, and we want to make sure that people understand that they will be very welcomed here. So another thing that we're doing this year for 2022 is to put together different panels and webinars and bring some educational material and questions and interview people so we can promote more our industry. And for this first one, we're going to have 3 panelists. We selected 3 wonderful, very well-known and respected women in this industry, being one person representing the state Texas Department of Transportation, the other person representing the academia part, and the third person representing the industry. And the idea is to ask questions. We actually collected questions from students. What do they want to hear from these 3 wonderful women? And we put together a great program and a great webinar today to be presented later.
Awesome, thank you. Wow, this is definitely a huge step in the right direction for 2022. As a branch, we are so excited to start the year off strong. So I can't wait to hear what these students have come up with and get to know these panelists on a more personal level. We will see them shortly. Thank you. Welcome back, everybody. I'm excited that y'all are here joining us today and tuning in to talk about Women of Asphalt. We have 3 extraordinary women here today to go over some questions from the universities. Remember, I didn't write these questions. We talked about this earlier. We reached out to some universities throughout Texas to see what they wanted to hear from women in our industry. I'm very excited again to introduce them. The first one today is Natalie Parker Wiseman, co-owner and CEO of KLP Construction Supply. Since this is from the universities, I'd like to also say that she is a Texas State Bobcat, for any Bobcats listening. Our second is Gina Gallegos, the San Antonio District Engineer for TxDOT. She is a Texas A&M Aggie. Our third is Dr. Amy Epps Martin. She is both a professor at Texas A&M University and a senior research engineer at TTI. Amy's alma mater is UC Berkeley. Ladies, I'm very excited to be here with y'all. How are y'all doing today?
Hi, Jennifer. Thanks for having us.
Good, thank you.
Yes.
Good.
Awesome. Well, what we kind of really want to do today from the student perspective is really to gauge what motivated y'all to start in the industry and how y'all have been incredibly successful in your careers throughout. So think about students who are starting out in their careers very early on, maybe finding themselves in classrooms where they, don't see other women. They really don't have mentors maybe immediately right now. So that's kind of one of the first things I wanted to go over with y'all today is mentorship. How important has that been to y'all? Natalie, we're going to start with you.
Okay, great.
Did you have a mentor kind of going out when you started your business?
I would say mentorship is so vital at every stage of your life and career and just everything. So having a mentor, you have to find the right mentor and somebody who has been there before. So I started a business, so I needed to talk to entrepreneurs.
Absolutely.
So if I didn't talk to entrepreneurs, they don't know what that road is.
Right.
And the way, and you want to get to the people that are at the top of their field or the top of their game, because they're going to give you the best information. Now, the best mentorship and mentors that I've had are the ones that will tell you the truth.
Oh, yeah.
the hard and true facts.
I'm sure.
And
Very
not
true.
sugarcoat
Yes.
things.
Yes.
You know, and a lot of times people think because you're a female, they're going to try to make it nice and, you know,
Gentle.
and
Yes.
and they're not going to give you the hard truth about stuff. And so I mean, I was so grateful when the people that I got into contact with and that became my mentors were like, okay, you want to be an entrepreneur?
Let's go.
You get ready to get kicked in the teeth every day.
Yes.
Can you do that? Can you keep waking up with a good attitude and a smile and keep going? Because it's not easy.
No.
And you have a lot of gaps to fill, and you have a lot of bridges to and hurdles to overcome. And if you're not prepared for that, then just go, you know, get a job
Yeah.
in the industry or wherever you want to go. But being an entrepreneur, if I had just talked to other people that had not been there, you know, it's more rah-rah, you can do it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so great.
Just paint the rainbows and butterflies part
Yeah.
of it. So.
But somebody who's been there before understands not just the hard work, but the financial part that you have to overcome all the time.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for those mentors that
Absolutely.
just told me the truth.
Absolutely. Do y'all have similar feelings? Amy, maybe in research, was it
Yeah, I mean,
tough to claw your way through?
I think mentors are important, but like she said, you have to find the right one. It's
Absolutely.
like finding, you can't force it. It's like finding the doctor that you feel comfortable with, right?
Yes.
And so I was fortunate. I have my dad who's in the industry, and that's always been there. So I was exposed to the possibility of being in this industry early in life. And then I actually was fortunate to have my dad's PhD advisor was also my PhD advisor.
Oh, wow.
So I was near the end of his career, and so he
How
had never
cool.
had a PhD female graduate student. So he was really smart and brought on Rita Leahy, and she was at another university, but it was really critical to have somebody, I think he thought, that was female and younger than him to help me along the way.
Sure.
And that really did play out in a good
Wonderful.
way. So yeah, I think it's really important.
Awesome. And Dr. Epps was a mentor to you as well?
You know, Dr. Epps, I think, is a mentor to all of us.
I completely agree. Completely agree.
As well as to a lot of people who work at TxDOT. I mean, he is really a mentor to quite a few of us. And, you know, mentorship, I think they're all around us. And it's just like what Amy just said, is you have to find the right one and the one that you feel comfortable with. But they're really all around you. And it doesn't have to be, let's say, maybe one specific person that you feel
Right.
that person has to be your mentor.
Exactly.
It's an organic relationship that can grow. And I know for me, my mentors were really more the inspectors, construction inspectors.
Yes.
You know, coming right out of school, very unsure about the construction side of life, the construction industry. That world is completely different.
Getting thrown into the field right away.
Yes, getting thrown into that.
It's a lot to absorb.
It is, and it can be scary. I know it was scary for me.
I have been
but
there. Yes,
the
ma'am.
construction inspectors and the chief inspectors really became my mentors. They're the ones who taught me. They had no hesitation to teach me. And so really for me, it was my opportunity to just grasp that and learn as much as I could.
Absolutely.
And still to this day, I won't hesitate to reach out to them. Even though many are retired, but I won't hesitate to reach out to others and to ask questions.
It's a
or to
community.
get-
We're all here.
Right,
Yes.
just to get their feedback.
Yes.
And so to me, mentors they're really around you, and they're very important. You do want to reach out. And it can be a little scary, like I said, going into this field, but when you have the right people around you and they're willing to help you and they're willing to share their experience, then grasp it and just soak that up and run with it.
I agree.
And,
I agree.
And it doesn't have to be one person. It can
Right,
be many
right.
people,
It
like
is.
what you're
in
saying.
different ways.
Yes.
In different ways.
mentor you in
That's
different
right.
ways.
It needs to be, you know, more than one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
Sure.
you have to navigate so many different aspects. The other thing I would say on mentorship is it's you need to know what you're asking.
Yes.
You need to be very clear about the questions that you're asking in terms, so that they can
Provide
truly
you
help
direction,
you.
yeah.
I think one of the things that, for me, I'm very curious. Like, I always want to know, what are you doing over there?
Yeah.
So, like, when I've gone through my career, which I don't have I'm not an engineer. I didn't grow up in engineering. I have a degree in science, but I parlayed that, many
Sure.
years later into being a part of the industry. And so I came in late in life into the industry, and I had to navigate quickly.
Yes.
And so the only way that if you want to grow your career and you want to get to where you think you want to be, then I would say curiosity will help you.
Yep.
And
Don't be afraid to ask
asking
questions.
What are you
Stand out.
doing over there? Like, I want to understand this. And then you can, and then you could get a more broad range if you're not sure where you want to go. But if you're clear where you want to go,
Yeah.
you need to be asking those people what they're doing, how they got there, what are the next steps in my career, in my development, what would make me more rounded, more valuable, those kinds of things.
Absolutely.
So
And
mentorship is a two-way street.
yes.
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 For sure.
For
Yeah.
sure. And I think, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And I think we as we progress in our careers, we become the role models, and we
Yes.
become the mentors, and you have to give back and provide opportunities for the next
Right.
generation.
Very true.
It might even
Absolutely.
happen and y'all wouldn't even know it, because all three
Right.
of y'all, I promise, are being mentor examples right now to me, to everyone who's watching. And I think from the student perspective, and you might be able to answer this too, because you work with students all the time, they may not have that personality trait where they're eager to go, and they might want to so badly, but they might not be able to overcome some of the fears that they have. Asking questions in front of a group of people, being up here, public speaking, that kind of all goes together. What advice could y'all give to some of these students on how to kind of bridge that gap? And
I just wanted to mention one more thing.
Okay.
It's kind of related to how a student enters the
Sure.
industry, but it's also important, since I don't work in the real world. I do believe that my mentors, including my dad, he's very special in that he's had the academic and the research and the industry, and it's critical to all work as a team and
Absolutely.
collaboratively
Oh, yes.
to get the best product. That's what we all want.
Sure.
And so you want to show that to students. It's important to have the communication piece, but to also be able to, and that includes talking to all different audiences and trying to all work together as a team.
Sure. And I think a lot of that probably just takes a lot of practice and stuff too for them, because it's
Yeah.
hard if you don't get that exposure when you're studying, and you're not really, unless you're in internships and involved with stuff, you're involved with so much outside of the community. It's a wonderful thing. And so it's fun to learn that you came in late, but you're still so passionate, and that involvement that you have everywhere you go. I think that's really where they would like to be. How do they get more involved? How can
I
we reach
love
them?
our industry, and
Yes.
what Amy's talking about, and what Gina touched on too, is that when you're a student and you're coming out into the world and you get your mentors, and you want to look at your classmates, and if you want to get into heavy highway, we welcome you. Come in, because
Absolutely.
it's amazing.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
it is a small fraternity, and you will be working with each other for the next 30 years. You'll have families together, you'll have all the stages in life together, and those mentors are going to help you through your entire career. And then you're the next in line to help
The next
grow the next
generation, yeah.
And it's a really, really special, beautiful thing that I don't find to be the case in other industries that I've
No,
worked in.
I would completely
And-
agree.
And so I highly encourage students that are engineering, you can go in a myriad of ways. I highly recommend them going to the heavy highway, and definitely asphalt, because it's a little sub-family of the
is.
big overall
It is.
family.
It is.
It is.
And it's
definitely.
really special
It is.
because you're doing the research. You're just like what you do, Amy, and you do, Gina, and then also Dr. Epps. He, or Dr. John Epps. He's touched every aspect,
Right.
and you've worked with
Yes.
every aspect. I've worked with TTI. I've worked with I work with TxDOT. I've worked, with industry. So, if I had started when I was a student, oh my God,
I
my
know.
neck would have been amazing.
Huge, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I think that's kind of what we're trying to get to them. So as they're navigating through their school right now and navigating through trying to get internships and get their way out there, how can we help motivate them to want to reach out to us in ways like this through Women of Asphalt?
Well, I think I'm going to speak
Go ahead.
quickly on this. You know, any time in life, this is not just for this moment in time, for them, for you students. You have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yep. It's very well put.
Very
So
true.
Yes,
you
you
just
do.
have to
It's
get
part of
used
it.
to it. You'll never not be afraid. It'll never. Like I still get nervous. I was nervous coming here today to talk. I talk a lot to people all the time. I'm still get nervous. It doesn't. You know, I have to have uncomfortable conversations all the time as a business owner. That never, those butterflies, that, you know, that thing inside of you doesn't go away.
Nope.
And you just have to, you don't have to do anything. But my recommendation is to try and put yourself in positions where you're uncomfortable and keep doing that. More and more, so you realize you're not going to die. Like
You're gonna
inside
live.
of you,
Yes.
you will. Oh, I'm still alive after that
Yeah,
conversation.
right.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm still alive after that phone call that I didn't know anybody. I'm still here.
Yeah.
Oh, and it worked out. Oh, okay, I can keep doing this.
And that
I
builds
agree.
your confidence.
I agree.
If
It does.
you take
I
the
agree.
different opportunities, it builds your confidence. And of course, you don't want to be too confident. You want to balance that sort of uncomfortableness and confidence. But you also, you know what you know. And so
Sure.
I was also wanted to mention that, I mean, because we are still a minority in this field, we have to recognize that that it's a different standard
Absolutely.
for us. And I see this in my classroom. And I mean, in the classroom, we're about 25% females in civil engineering, but that's not true.
That's higher than
not
I
true.
expected,
That's
actually.
not true in my job,
Yes,
you know, and
correct.
probably
Exactly.
not in y'all's jobs
Very
either, right?
true.
So, and I don't mean to, I'm not complaining about this, but you just have to recognize that we need to be A+.
Yep.
That's what we have to be
Yes.
at the table and to get respect.
I agree.
And so you shouldn't feel like you don't belong there, because you
Correct.
do. But
Correct.
at the same time, you just have to just recognize that.
Absolutely. And Gina, you've held very high positions at TxDOT even before this one throughout the last couple years. So is what kept you going to just keep reaching for that next tier every single time to get to where you are? Because I'm sure there were struggles too.
Oh yes, there are a lot of struggles, and you know, really to keep going. I've been with TxDOT for over 28 years, and I have been working in different areas of TxDOT, whether it was design, construction, the lab, which I really enjoyed the lab. That was a
Sure.
lot of fun. And for a lot of young engineers, they can find that scary.
Yep.
You know, TxDOT has that mandatory rotation where you rotate through the different areas. But for me, it was just wanting to learn and
Sure.
wanting to keep going and learning and learning. But I am going to tell you, a struggle in moving up in the different areas at TxDOT is really that balance and trying to figure out.
Which
you know,
way to
Amy made a
go.
comment about us and being our best and you know, just to be at the table, and that is so true.
Yep.
Is trying to make that decision internally in my own mind.
Yes. Every day.
Is can I do that?
Right.
You know, am I ready for that challenge? Even though we might have that experience. I was the director of construction division in Austin. And again, Texas is a very large state.
Oh, absolutely.
And we have 25 districts at TxDOT. But the first thing in my head is, can I really do that job? I don't know if I can. You know, I'd been an area engineer, I'd been a director of construction, but really, and that's something, just trying to make that initial step, that struggle of making that initial step to say, okay, I think I can, let me move forward. But in my head, I have a whole checklist. Can I do this, 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 this? Okay, I've gotten through my checklist. All right, then I'll apply.
There you go. It's organized, it's concise, you're checking your boxes.
But that's not necessarily the true
reality. When
not.
life happens, it's thrown at you.
It's thrown at you. That's exactly right. And so many people will apply and they really don't have that full checklist that maybe I do in my mind. And so I tell our young engineers not to be afraid, make that step and take that leap. However, at the same time, I know in my own experience, I had to make sure that I was ready.
You were ready.
I always made sure I was 100% ready before I made that step. I just had to have that security in my own mind, which is, I tell my young engineers, don't do that. If you have the experience, make that step. You can do it. Yes, just do it. For me, like I said, that was very challenging. And then you also have that struggle of trying to figure out, as women, you're raising a family or you're raising kids, and then trying to put in, you're always giving over 100%. It's always over 100% that we give.
Every day.
Right? For me, I always think that it's 110% no matter what to my job, and then at the same time, you have that personal life going on where you want to raise kids or you're doing something else.
Right. Life's pulling you in all these directions.
Life's pulling you in every direction. And I think as women, many times, we have to have it in our minds that we have to give 110% to everything.
Sure.
And that is also, to me, a struggle in making sure I am always giving 110% for everything. So when people say, you have that balance, I still have not found the balance. I cannot figure out the balance.
There is no balance. I'm sorry, there is no balance.
And it's rebalancing every day.
Yes.
That's a perfect way to put it.
You're recalibrating all the time on your internal resources to what your output, where the output needs to go.
Absolutely.
And it's never going to be consistent every day.
Nope.
Exactly. That is
which
perfect.
is great for women because we're good at kind of
adapting.
Adapting. That's a very female trait. So don't be afraid.
But I think when you have a lot of challenges in life that come from personal struggles, a lot of us have kids. My husband has been very sick. My mom was very sick and passed away, and so did my father-in-law. So there's lots of things going on. And you have to have a supportive environment to make all of this balancing work.
Yes.
And you also need your team, as I call it, to lean on in all different ways.
Sure.
Your professional team and your personal team, and that I think those are all important points.
I could not agree more. I could not.
One thing I did want to mention is earlier when you said if anyone is hesitant or maybe doesn't want to approach someone, they can easily join, let's say, a club or an organization.
Sure.
They can join those. For me, I encourage my young engineers. I have a lot of young engineers, they're very hesitant to speak.
It's hard. It can be difficult.
And I understand that.
Yes.
And they're saying, Gina, I really don't want to speak. I'm scared to speak. So what I encourage them to do is to speak at career days at schools. Middle
Start
schools,
little
high
and grow
schools.
from there.
Go and speak at career days. I also encourage them to attend as many conferences as they can, just because that's a networking opportunity. And they can meet other people in a more casual setting without having that formal meeting.
Right.
And they can sit there and talk to people and get to know them and just, like I said, a more informal
and it helps them build their network and stuff too.
Yes, and it helps them build their network.
And hopefully they're seeing good presentations so they can understand how to do that next step.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they can really grow from that.
At conferences, I mean, I always tell people get involved. Whatever your industry is, you need to get involved. Joining clubs, joining organizations, and then attending the conferences. And if you're listening to the speaker and you're inspired by that person, go up and meet them.
Yeah.
And introduce yourself, and tell them who you are. And if you're wanting them to be a mentor, people want to help other people.
Absolutely. In this industry, yes.
And
I
so
could not agree more.
When you make that request, look, will you help me understand something? Or I'm looking. You don't have to say I need a mentor. All you have to say is, I'm a student. I'm looking to get into this. What would you recommend? How would you recommend I do this or that? where would you go, or what did you do to,
Right.
you know, these are the kinds of questions that you could ask that are not so scary, you know,
Yeah,
to
just
say.
baby steps. And so I think that it's really good that we kind of touched on the different ways to approach this, because you're right. Some people, they like to make checklists. They like to have a definitive plan. Some people might like to take big leaps and take big risks and just go for it. So for y'all, and this is going to get a little personal, we're going to start with Amy. What do you think for you? What makes you stand out in your field?
Oh, wow. I don't know. I think both my parents inspired me. I think back to the whole team concept. I'm a big sports person, so I think that's how I think of life.
Good.
I would say that my mom was the head cheerleader and my dad is the captain, and I'm very close to them, and that's always been very good. I think my dad set very high expectations, so I think I also set very high expectations of the people that I work with. So I think I draw from that. My mom was very calm, strong fighter, and I'm not sure I do the calm part as well as I should, but it's something that I try to work on.
But your family,
and positivity. My family definitely
helped shape you, and
I think both my PhD advisors that I mentioned earlier and my dad also, I think, taught me to, hopefully I come across as, I try to be humble and very prepared and knowledgeable. And try to share what I know and learn from others, because I don't live in the real world, so I need to learn from the people that are actually doing construction of roads.
I got you. Gina, how about you?
Say.
Would you agree?
Oh, definitely. I feel for me, it's more of a walking the walk. I don't feel anything is beneath me. All of my employees know that if I expect them to do something or to have a certain task done, I will jump in.
You would
there
also
as well.
do it, yes, exactly.
You know, if we have, let's say we had our winter weather event, we had our snow last year, we had ice this year, I won't hesitate to be out there. I will not be at home. I'm out there with our maintenance section, seeing what's going on, how are they doing. So for me, and that's what I expect from my engineers.
Yes.
I tell them, I expect you to do whatever you're
asking your team to do. Yeah,
yes.
That's a great
and
that's a great
that's
approach.
the way I feel, and that's the way I am. You know, like I said, if something is going on and we have an emergency situation, you won't find me sitting at home or behind my desk.
Sure.
You know, I will make sure that I'm there with my
You'll
employees.
be out there, hands-on.
Yes,
Good.
very hands-on.
Natalie?
I'm pretty much what Amy and Gina said. I mean, I'm, you know, as a business owner, you know, my sister and we started our business from scratch. So we did everything
Together.
Together. I mean, and we had different roles, but at the same time, we had to build it together.
Sure.
My title might be CEO, but I'm also the CEO of janitorial services. You know, I'm taking out trash, I'm picking up, making sure our yards and warehouses are, you know, doing whatever they need, you know, clean and neat and organized, and inventory management and things like that. And then it's important for me to drive the business, and, you know, you have to, it's up to you on how excellent you want to be in your career and your job.
Setting the standard for yourself and everyone around you.
And then when you set that standard for yourself, the people around you, one, you will be recognized by that. And then the people around you will either rise up with you or not.
They feel that energy that you put off to everyone around you.
For me, I'm driving the business. So if my staff and my team is not driving the business with me, then they won't make it at KLP. Because my expectations are we have to be driving business all the time.
Every day.
And I'm known to send out emails at all hours of the day and night. You know, we've introduced very innovative products to TxDOT and to the industry, and that requires, you know, being on job sites whenever at any possible moment in time.
No, this industry never stops.
When I get that window, you better show up. And so I've built a reputation of showing up. and when, of saying something and doing something. I walk the walk. You have to be walking the walk. You can't just sound good.
Absolutely.
You can't just look good. You can't just,
You gotta do
know,
it. They see you.
you have to put the effort into it, and you have to keep showing up and doing what you say you're going to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if, let's say, we're in construction, so things, we're at the mercy of a lot of factors that are
Yes.
not under our control.
That's right.
You got to be flexible.
You have to be flexible, but you answer the phone.
Yes.
Yes, I agree.
You do.
You show up to solve the problems. And I think that's another part of our industry that makes it so special, is we're all about solving problems.
We are.
Yeah.
That's
Your
very
job is
true.
solving problems. Your job, my
Every
job is
day.
solving every
Yes.
day.
Yes.
We're always solving problems.
Professional problem solvers. That's what we all are.
So when you think that you've made mistakes, you have to say, I've made a mistake.
Own it.
And
Own
move forward.
it and move forward, and
move
then
on.
and then people will say, okay, how do we solve a problem?
Right.
How do we come together
Yes.
to move things forward? And that is part of also building a strong reputation of excellence in
Yes.
our industry.
Yes.
Not that you're perfect,
No.
but that you're willing to clean up messes, you're willing to jump in, you're willing to solve problems, you're willing to just be there and be great
Show up,
at and
get it
show up
taken
and
care of.
right.
Yeah, and I would add, be a finisher. Like I
Yeah.
feel
Yes.
like I try to be a finisher,
Yes.
and
Yes.
and I try to produce something that's of high quality, and that can be communicated. And I'm lucky with what I do. I feel like some of my products are students, right? I'm just literally right there, right?
Right.
And I really take pride in seeing how my
Sure.
students go out in
How
the
they
world,
grow,
and
Yeah.
how they go into
develop.
the industry and develop, and that's a really
Sure,
it's
because
very
you helped
rewarding.
mold them.
It's very rewarding.
You helped
yeah.
shape them.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So one of the Gina was talking about, I can't remember the exact question, but it was when you have your checklist of applying or whatever. I'm a little bit different, where I'm a bit, I have a higher risk level of just jumping and going, oh, I really
That is great. It is great.
So it's good to have a diverse panel.
Different personalities. Yeah, absolutely.
So in my past lives, I've done things that, and even now, I didn't have really a background of doing what I'm doing, and I just said, okay, I think we can do this. I believe we can do this. We're going to figure it out. Now, what's made it successful is that I'm willing to figure it out, and I work really hard. So one of my very first jobs, I interviewed, and I was living. I grew up in Texas. I moved to New York. I moved out to LA. I was living in LA, and I had just arrived, and I needed a job, and I applied for a job that I didn't have any experience in, of course, and it was for an executive assistant. So I'm working with like the top people at Turner Broadcasting.
Yeah.
So I go into interview. I botched the interview, by the way, I think, because I was like, I'm the best person for the job. And he's like, why? And I'm like, I really don't know, but you should hire me.
I am, yes. The confidence, though. I'm feeling the confidence.
He's like, why? And I'm like, I really couldn't answer it. I turned red. I was like, I don't know why, but you should.
I'm a good person. Hire me.
You're going to regret this if you don't.
That's right.
So he was desperate, and he needed somebody who knew how to do PowerPoint. I knew a little bit about PowerPoint. And I said, yeah, I can do PowerPoint. So I didn't necessarily lie, but I didn't say to what degree I knew PowerPoint. I didn't indulge
I know how to open
in
it.
that. I know, yeah. But he gave me a chance to. He gave me a chance as like a temporary assignment to come on board and build some presentations for him. And I dove into the PowerPoint program. I learned everything, and he hired me. Also because I would network with people, because I wanted to know who was who and what was what.
Sure.
And that was also part of the role. So I got hired, and I still don't know how to do really PowerPoint, but I passed that first test. But I became known throughout Turner Broadcasting advertising sales as one of the best workers and people, and even our New York office would be like, I can't wait to meet you. Your boss, David, my boss at the time, brags about you all the time. Well, because I would stay there till 3 o'clock in the
stay there
morning
late.
and make sure everything was done, and make sure and re-edit and edit and make sure everything was perfect.
So kind of going back as a mentor to you, someone took a risk on you.
Yes.
And you have spent your whole career taking risk after risk and just climbing that ladder and building what you have now.
Yes, but you have to be willing to build your own capacity.
Yes. And
They're
take
going to
those
give you a
risks.
chance.
Sure.
They're going to open a door, but that they can't. You have to walk through that door and start.
Yes.
You have to build your own capacity to do things.
Sure.
So the mentor can kind of give you the roadmap.
Here you are.
But then you have to
Pave your way.
Correct.
Pave your way.
I love what Natalie just said, because your reputation does precede you.
Yes.
And so when Natalie just said you have to get in there and pave your own way, it's so true. Even graduating and young engineers that come into TxDOT, I have to tell them and remind them, even though they have an engineering degree, does not make them an engineer.
Sure.
And so your reputation precedes you. If you jump in there and you want to learn, just like Natalie did, she jumped in there, full steam ahead, that reputation will stay with you.
Absolutely.
It's taking initiative.
Yes,
It is.
taking that initiative. I mean, that's exactly right. Or if you end up saying, no, I have a degree and I don't think I have to do this, that, or the other, then that's going to follow you as well.
And you hear that.
And you
Sometimes
do.
still you do.
Oh,
and it's
yes.
hard to kind of, you want to rein yourself back in, because you're not entitled to anything. You just, you
Right.
got to work for it and you have to build your reputation.
But when I hire people, I need initiative, because we're all at,
Right.
we have high demanding positions.
Yes.
We're
very.
pulled in so many directions.
Sure.
And lives are at stake, essentially, with the decisions that we make. And when I hire somebody, I need to know that are they going to wait for me to give them direction?
Right. Are they going to
Or I can kind of give them a guide and go get it done. I don't mind, you coming and asking me questions, but if you want me to show you how to go from A to B
Sure.
to C and how to do that, I can't do that.
No.
I don't have time. In fact, I'm probably asking you to do research and figure it all out
On your own.
Because I don't have time to figure it out.
Right.
I could,
Right.
but I don't have time.
That's why you hired them.
That's why you're here.
Exactly.
So what value are you going to bring? Can you go with very little direction, go figure something out,
And take
come
off.
back with questions? Okay, I tried this, I tried that, what do I do here? Okay, let me guide you, let me
Sure.
guide you here. But when you go do what you're doing, are you going to go take initiative and see where maybe I'm missing something that I didn't say? Are you going to come back with that?
Sure.
So I would be thinking about yourself, building capacity for yourself when you're given opportunities.
Do you see that, Amy, in your students, that as they go out?
I definitely see that how they sort of develop, right? And at the end, that's what we're hoping to produce, right?
Sure.
But when they first start, a lot of times it is a lot of me telling them what to do,
Sure.
and with more guidance. And so you want them to become more and more independent, basically, and it's hard, and we're trying to do communication skills, right, at the same time, right?
Yes.
And learn the breadth of what we do, and read a lot, and review a lot, and all of that takes time, but yeah, and then sometimes there's cultural differences, right?
Absolutely.
Where sometimes I want my students to be more partners with me, and sometimes I definitely want them to respect me too, but
Sure.
you understand what I'm saying.
But you got to
Sometimes
get in there with them and work on these
Sometimes we
projects
need
too.
to be working more collaboratively instead of I'm the
professor,
boss.
you
yeah,
do.
yeah,
Exactly,
Yeah. So,
exactly.
But usually we get past that pretty fast, and it's not
Sure.
too much of an issue. But one thing I wanted to mention, that you said that we have sort of a lot of demands, right? And the whole balancing act, and then rebalancing every day. I think it's also important that you cannot forget to take care of yourself. You just
Yep.
cannot forget that,
Very good
because
point.
you cannot be everything to everybody else for your
All the
job
time.
and your family. if you're not taking care of yourself. And that's
Yeah,
something
that's
that
a
you
great
hear all the
point.
time, but it really is true.
You forget. You get so submerged into
It really
everything
is
you're
true.
doing, your families, your dogs, your cats, whatever you've got,
Yeah.
and you forget, hey, I need some me time too.
Yeah.
So, well, these are excellent responses. The last thing that I would really kind of like to get into, y'all, and kind of end things on a really happy note, is I'd really like to hear what your favorite project was that you've either been a part of, or something maybe you did a collaborative effort with another company, or however it pertains to you. What was one of your favorite memories in this industry?
You want to go first?
I guess for me, I was a construction engineer at the time. At the time, it was the largest project in San Antonio. It was an interchange project. And for me, I think what was just amazing and just awesome was we were working 24/7 on that job. So all of our inspectors, everybody was working 12-hour shifts.
Wow.
And really getting to know the contractor, the suppliers, who we all came just hand in hand to try to get that job done quickly. And all of our inspectors working together. It was just a collaborative effort. It was really a team. And for me, everybody who was put on that project and who was assigned to that project, once I saw who our team was, some people joked, they said, Gina, I don't know if I'm really the smartest person to be on this job, because it was at that time, the largest project in San Antonio. And I said, yes, but I felt we had the right team because everybody had their strength.
It all came together.
And we all worked together. And just knowing what everybody's strength was, we knew who we could rely on for certain situations. So to me, it was just the right team to have. And it was fantastic. It was a huge learning experience for all of us. And once we built that job, we were all able to take a step back and say, wow.
Look at what we did.
Yes, and we
look
did
at
it
what
together.
we built.
So for me,
That's
that
so
was just an
amazing.
amazing experience.
Yes.
It was, honestly, even though it was 12-hour shifts constantly and you're working around the clock, it was still fun. And it was, we just kept learning and we grew together, and it was just great teamwork.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. That's a really great story.
I think I would have a similar type story. My big project is a 5-year research project, a national project.
Wow.
That has led to all different kinds of things. But on that project, it was a really big team. And that was, I guess, only my second national project where I was the leader. So I was in charge of, herding all the cats. but when you have the right team, it really makes all the difference in the world. And you also try to, recognize your own limitations and get people that complement you and have their own strengths and recognize those strengths. And when you can, you pick the team that you want, because life is too short to work with people that you can't depend on and that you can't rely on. And that project has led to a lot of other projects here in Texas and elsewhere. And it's basically just project on using high wrap. I mean, that's what everybody's trying to do, and figure out how to do economic, environmental, and engineering benefits all at the same time. And so that project in and of itself, it was, we published a lot on it. It's not like we know all the answers. It just led to all these other things that are complementary.
Right.
And I've spoken about that project a lot of times. I joke that we're going to have like a world tour shirt, with all the dates and locations.
But it stuck with you, and that's such a great thing.
and
You'll remember that. That team will remember that.
Yes, very, very good. So it was great.
Natalie?
I would say something that I'm extremely proud of is that we've gotten 8 products approved through TxDOT
Oh my gosh.
that have not been used in, either asphalt or concrete roads and bridges. And not being an engineer and working with TxDOT and working with TTI and working on the research and working with industry to bring something to market that it's very difficult to do.
Yeah.
And, so I'm extremely proud of that.
Oh,
and these
that's
product
amazing.
lines, in particular, our asphalt additives for coating and compaction, war mix, and then our less tracking tack. We compete directly against the biggest companies in those categories. Huge companies that they have great products, but they've never really been nervous before with their competition
And
until
now you're
we
making them nervous.
got into the market. And I'm very, very proud of that.
You should be.
So
Good for y'all. That's
I would-
exceptional.
yeah.
That is exceptional. Well, thank y'all so much. I think that y'all have answered all these questions exceptionally. You're all three exceptional women. I've been saying that a lot today, but I feel personally inspired to and honored to really sit here and get to know y'all more personally and go through some of these questions. So, students, we'd like to have some more feedback from y'all after this and hear from y'all. We plan to have more of these types of interviews, whether they're one-on-one or panels in the future. We thank everybody for listening today. Thank y'all so much. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.